everyone! I guess we're getting all the serious stuff out of the way because this is the one question that I really didn't want to talk about. Since I just graduated college, basically my mind is completely wrapped up in what career I'm going for right now. Right now I'm looking to go into education. I'm actually scheduled to take my CBEST this Saturday. For those of you who don't live in California, the CBEST is like the California Basic Education Skills Test. What I'm looking to do right now is get into the substitute pool of a school district or multiple school districts, or to become a teacher's assistant. I taught music and dance in my Philippine choral group and Filipino Culture Night, and I was also a language partner for exchange students that were visiting for the winter, Korean and French. It's a lot of pressure for me because my student loan repayments will start rolling in July. If you don't live in the US, we start paying back our student loans 6 months after we get out of our academic program, and it doesn't matter if we have a job or not. And my dad is always saying to me, you know, I want you to get a career in something that's related to your field, which in this economy, in the state that we're in, it's not always easy to get a job that's necessarily related to what you studied. So I mean, if I don't find an education career right away, I'll find something else to do in the meantime. I always joke and say that my backup plan is Joann's, because honestly I've always really wanted to work there because I love to craft and I've always wanted to just cut fabric and like ask people what they're making with it and stuff. As a person, I genuinely love to teach people. I love sharing what knowledge I have, and I've always been really good at trying to adapt my language into a very basic level so it's easily understandable. The thing is, I'm a really socially anxious person. I am terrified of any kind of interview. I feel like I have no idea what to say in those things. I don't even know what age level I want to teach. I don't know what subject I want to teach because, again, I have too many interests. I don't know which one would be best for me. I minored in French, but I don't practice it that often because I live in Southern California and I don't see a lot of French people. My background in teaching is honestly mostly in performing arts. Not to mention the thing that comes after the CBEST are the horrifying CSETs, which are the subject tests, and those are, compared to the CBEST, which is easy as cake, the CSETs are so hard. Like, I looked at the practice tests and I'm just terrified no matter what subject I think I might want to teach. And so there's also that fear about, am I even going to pass any of these tests? Am I even going to be qualified enough to be a teacher? I've never formally taught an entire classroom. The most teaching I've done of a big group of people is in my extracurricular activities. As a dance coordinator, I had practices of bunches of people, like 50 people at a time. And similarly, when I was a director of my Philippine choral group, or even before that when I was also section leader, I had to teach a lot of people at once. Usually I'm teaching all the sections one at a time. After that, the section leaders will solidify everything they've learned, and then they'll also try to improve on their singing technique and things like that. The most I've had to do in an actual classroom is tutor. I basically went around the classroom, helping students with questions, helping them stay on task, helping them with their assignments if they were struggling. I think another thing too is that I just feel like a little kid still. I'm 22 years old, but I still don't feel like I'm mature enough to do anything on my own, that I'm mature enough to get hired for a professional position. Because I mean, I look at my resume, I've only had one job before that was obtained for work study, and it was only a summer job. So I'm just hoping that my teaching things in my extracurricular activities is enough experience to show that I've had some teaching experience in a lot of interesting and unique fields. I know I keep flowing between topics, but another thing is that I actually wanted to change my major to ethnomusicology in the middle of my junior year of college. I've always felt like I never fit in the applied linguistics department. I felt like everyone was about research and things like that, but really I just wanted to teach. When I wanted to change my major to ethnomusicology, it was already too late into my college career that if I had done the ethnomusicology major, that I wouldn't have completed it in 4 or 5 years. So they flat out just said they didn't want to take me. And I remember going into college and wondering, what am I going to major in? I went in undeclared in humanities. A couple things that held me back from declaring any kind of music major was the audition, and then it was just the thing about what am I going to do with music after I graduate. I realized that I would have loved to major in music and that I would have just figured it out afterwards. So in a way, I feel like I'm paying penance for not declaring that major in the first place, because I had to just settle for a music history minor, and I couldn't even keep that because of a bunch of academic stuff that happened. And so because the music thing didn't fall through, one thing that I promised myself going into college is that no matter what my paper says that I specialize in, I'm gonna follow everything else that I do as professionally as I possibly can. That's kind of what this channel is for. It's a medium for me to do those things. I like to draw, I like to make music, I like to make mashups, I like fashion, I like sewing, I like cosplaying, I like nerdy things, I like cooking. Those things are all part of me, and so I don't want to have to just give away facets of myself just because my paper says I majored in this. Because frankly, I want to do it all. Because I don't want to settle for one thing and then be unhappy for the rest of my life. Honestly, the one thing I know that I really want is to get married and have a family. And a dream that my boyfriend and I really want to share, because we both want to see places, is we want to go overseas and teach English in Asia. We want to hit 3 main countries. We want to hit Japan, Korea, and China. And then we eventually want to visit the places where our families come from. So for me, it's the Philippines, and so for him, it's Africa. My boyfriend's studying Mandarin, and he's very into Chinese culture. Like a lot of people, we've come to be somewhat familiar with Japanese culture just because we like anime and manga. My boyfriend studied Japanese before, so he'd be able to communicate with the students in Japanese if need be. I can speak some very basic Japanese. I understand more of it than I speak it. And for my boyfriend being into K-pop and meeting Korean friends, he knows a little bit about Korean culture, and I've taken 2 years of Korean and wanted to minor in it even at one point. I know for programs like that, it's not required that you know the language that's being taught there, but I feel like it will help. And it would be much easier for me to get a teaching job overseas just because I am a native English speaker and I do have that background in applied linguistics, which we have teaching English as a second language and teaching foreign languages under our department anyway. So I have credibility in that, especially from things I've done in an ESL classroom. But my boyfriend doesn't have his bachelor's yet, and while I could just take off and go overseas, and he seems supportive of that, I don't want to be away from my boyfriend just because we were already in a long-distance relationship in college, and I'd rather not put an ocean between us. Okay, so I'm just gonna end it here. I've kind of flopped on the floor like a fish out of water trying to explain how ridiculously terrified I am about the future in my career. If you have any tips for me, I'd love to hear them, just because I feel like I don't have any guidance and I really don't know which step to put my feet in at the moment. But thanks for putting up with my rambling. It's really nice to get these feelings out in the open just because I feel like I let them fester or I repeat these fears to people, and I'm afraid that I'm annoying them because I'm saying the same things over again about how scared I am about finding a job. And if you're gonna stick on my channel, like I said, I like being real, I like being honest. So I want you to know, whoever's watching, what's going on in my life, and right now I'm terrified of finding a job. Thank you for listening to me. I really do appreciate it, and have a good night. Well, it's nighttime where I am. As of now, it is 12:25 p.m. No, a.m. I can't do numbers today. We were playing Dungeons and Dragons and I was just getting like all the numbers of my rolls and like announcing them wrong. And it's time for me to change out of these pretty clothes and head off to bed. Bye! You feel my neck being really tense because this is a subject that I just don't like to think about. So I guess TLDV, too long didn't... Oh wow, I can spell.